You guys have some great new music out, the Crystal Casino Band. Pete, if you could talk about how you guys usually describe your sound.
Yeah, so I would say I used to say that we were like 2014 indie revived, like the whole vibe of songs that you would find on Tumblr back in the day. Uh we were very similar to like those indie rock bands like The Strokes, 1975, The Killers, but I would say like we've started evolving more and we started like pulling in a lot of our influences as well. Like Jordan, myself, and Joey, we loved a lot of classic rock bands like the Beatles. So we started pulling some of those influences in there as like we now on this album have like everybody singing on it. So yeah, I would say we take like the 2000s indie rock, add a little bit of social commentary to it, and then also include our love for the Beatles.
Jordan, you guys all sing on this album. Was that something you were all excited about, nervous about, all of the above about?
Yeah, I'd say all the above. So it came kind of to us a little bit organically. So we all wrote um, the song Jamie together, which is the third single on the album. And we wrote that one together, like in Jared's apartment we were in. And one of us had the idea for a chorus that kind of had like revolving vocals. So like one would follow the other.
Hmm.
And all four of us were on it. And so that was the first one that we all like sang part of. And then after that, we started experimenting more with layering harmonies. We had previously just done Pete doing his own harmonies, but then we started experimenting with like me adding to Pete's lead vocals. And like really in the studio it kind of naturally came together. And then eventually we all decided that it would make sense for us to have our own songs doing lead vocals, to kind of add to that flavor that Pete was mentioning. It does add to like the certain vibe that we want. Um, you know, paying homage to bands like the Beatles and, having multiple lead singers in your band.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Well, Maryland House is this new album you guys have. And I'm curious, what are some themes? I think, Pete, you touched on it a bit that you explore here on this new album. And I'm completely flattered by number three, of course.
Yeah, so on this album, oh, I caught that with the Jamie reference. Yeah, that's great. Um, so yeah, so like some of the themes on this album, these songs like usually result around like our lives, loosely around our lives. So these songs were all written in the years of 2020 and 2021, and so we all live in Washington D.C. and there were a lot of things happening in D.C. that year, including the pandemic, the 2020 presidential election, the insurrection, like like things happen in one tumultuous year basically. And so all of those factors kind of like bled organically into like the songs because they are loosely about our lives, and so we experience all those things living in DC. So yeah, the album definitely tackles more like political stuff than we have in the past, but it also will it also tackles like the standard stuff that we our bread and butter, like songs about relationships and things like that, and especially like how those relationships are uh how they're affected by these events happening in the world.
Well, have you heard a lot of response about some songs in particular, maybe like 20 something socialist or Wealth and Riches, Half Staff? Do people tend to reach out to you about songs in particular?
I would say 27 Socialists and Curfew have the biggest like effect on everybody who has listened to the album so far when it comes to like songs about those different topics. Yeah, I would say we've gotten the most it's kind of funny. Sometimes we would get some pushback for talking about these things, but like we don't regret it at all. But yeah, we've got a lot of very positive reception over Curfew and 20 something socialists for sure.
Yeah, I'd say Curfew is one where people it is not divisive, but like a little bit polarizing, just like the name of it, or people hear that it's about the insurrection and like have a response to it. But the way I see it, at least, I mean, I didn't write the song, so Pete chime in, but it doesn't seem to me it's like overtly political. To me, it's a great opener because it's about our lives as 20 somethings in DC.
Mhm.
This song doesn't really like, make a grandiose political statement. It's just kind of like, you know, I like something's happening across the river and it's not good. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like that's the way I see it at least. And it is funny to see like such like a stark reaction people have. And as Pete said, like we don't regret it at all. And like it kind of adds the political flavor of the album. Um, the way I kind of view Maryland House is like as like a anthology, like different voices in the DC area, and that's where that album title comes into play too. Because if you're traveling the Mid Atlantic, like you're gonna pass by Maryland House, and somebody has like always like kind of some kind of story there, or just like reaction to that building on I-95. And we also kind of like as people who we all work 9 to 5s, so a lot of our tour dates are on weekends, so we'll be traveling to New York and Philadelphia, Boston, and always passing by that one building. So it kind of for us was like a symbol of being back to home, and like our lives just as 20 somethings in DC.
Yeah, definitely. And like when it comes to just like themes of the album, like Maryland House being a symbol of being close to home is one of the big reasons why like the last song in the album is called Getting Closer. So just like to tie that in as well.
Well, that's a great segue then to my next question. When it comes to songwriting, do you all kind of need to have music before you can come up with lyrics? Do you need to have a little bit of inspiration for a theme before you guys deep dive into what you're going to explore as far as lyrics and then beat wise?
So I think I can speak a little bit for myself and then go from there about like how that might have affected like the rest of the band's writing too. So this one, so I did not write every song off the album, but I did write a majority of them. And so when we were coming up for like the songs for the album, I presented like a majority of them that had this sort of like more political theme. So then when other people started writing songs like in lyrics as well, they started incorporating that to their songs as well. And then from my point of view, like it doesn't really matter whether it's like music first or lyrics first. I know it's a hit if they both come at the same time writing. That's like been my like when that's happened to me in sessions, like I know it's going to be good because like our songs like 20 something socialist and Waste My Time, which are like our two biggest songs, were just like that. But it doesn't really matter. I usually have a on my notes app on my phone, I have a bunch of like random lyrics whenever they come to me in the moment, just jot it down. And then if I like a chord progression that I'm playing, I'll go through my lyrics and just pick the best ones and then formulate a song that way. So sometimes it can be jumbled, but sometimes it can be surprisingly cohesive. And so the surprisingly cohesive ones are what makes the record.
And for the ones that we brought to the table, the three of us, not Pete, we are able to rely on Pete, if we face like those stumbling blocks or barriers, like if we're having trouble finding lyrics or finding a melody, like our process was then going to Pete to kind of fine tune it and make it into a demo, into like a real song that we could, bring on the album, produce. So even if we brought even if we brought a song to the table, we still relied on Pete to kind of carry it home.
Very flattering, Pete.
Thank you.
Thank them. When it comes to then to the production side of the music you make, do you have much of a say in that area?
Yeah, I would definitely say we do. We're not the ones who produce it. Kyle Downs and Jay Nehmeyer, they are producers. And we do a lot of the like pre-demo work before like writing the songs. We do a majority of writing the songs and setting it up into a demo that we then send to Kyle and Jay. And then Jay will review our demo and then he'll make some tweaks every now and then with like the arrangement, or sometimes like he likes it like as it is, so it just goes straight to the recording process from there. But we definitely do have a say with like changes whenever they're made. If we like them, if we don't like them, we give a bunch of revision notes for mixes. And yeah, so we definitely do. We're all very involved in the process. It's not like we just hand everything off or anything. Like it's all a team effort from everybody involved in the process for sure.
Yeah, and to add to that too, one thing that I think that is irregular about our process with Kyle and Jay is that throughout 2021 we had like in 2022 we had like a standing date with them every single Tuesday. So as opposed to, you know, like holding off a weekend and just kind of going in the studio for, you know, 48 hours straight to record a song or whatever, we would have a standing date with them where it's every single Tuesday we'd have the opportunity to meet with them after work. So I think that has like lent itself to being more comfortable with them.
Hmm.
You know, getting to know them throughout in the last 2 years. You know, now we're at a level where I think we're really comfortable expressing our feelings about the production up front. Um, and we definitely operate like on a democratic system where we all have an equal vote.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like there's times where it has to be like a majority of the people agree to something or to make stuff happen. And ultimately, like even if it's not something that someone wanted, like we all agree that it's what is for the best of the song and to make it the best song possible. If it's something that every single person majority likes.
Mm.
What do you hope lingers then with listeners who explore Maryland House?
That's a good question. I think I really want it to be more of like a voice for people in the DMV area, like put a little bit more of a spotlight like on DC, Virginia, and Maryland and the life of people who are living here, especially young 20 somethings. Cause like when it comes to like people our age writing music, they're always writing about Los Angeles or New York City. And it's just not something that's like seen in pop culture being talking about DC unless you're like Kerry Washington and Scandal. So none of us are, but we're trying our best with that to make the same impact that she did.
Quite the comparison. You guys are here heading out on tours. You mentioned some tour dates coming up, and are people able to buy tickets ahead of time? Is there links on your website where people can go and see where you'll be playing?
Yeah, so on our website, if you go to the tab that says the shows, it will have all of our tour dates. So we have what we have announced right now, and I'll preview some other ones that are in the works too. Right now, Columbus on May 5th and Chicago on May 6th are the only announced ones, but we do have Toronto, Pittsburgh, Richmond, and North Carolina also about to be announced too. Like they're like very close to being finalized. And then we're gonna try to do all the East Coast cities that we've done before and try to do them bigger and better than ever. And also try to hit the West Coast sometime in the fall. So yeah, it's exciting. We're trying to squeeze every last drop of paid time off that we can.
Jordan, are there some bands or artists you guys would love to collaborate with on a song in the future?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, I mean, I guess I'm gonna view that question through like touring, or I don't know. I mean, bands that we would always want to like be a dream would be like bands like the Wallows or Hippocampus. I think those are bands that we look to. Um, in terms of collaborations, God, I mean, if it was like if it was like a dream, I don't know, something like Lana Del Rey would be awesome. But
Oh
that's
yeah.
be I don't know if you have what are your dreams are.
Oh, I know that's also a great. I mean, like it's who we want like featured in a verse. One, this isn't necessarily like the one I came up with, but I'll just reiterate another one that Jordan has said in the past. But like I said, like we really like Wallows a lot and would love to be in their same realm one day. And so like doing a feature with Claro would be pretty. Um, but yeah, I would say obviously like if there's like I'll say a production collaboration of someone I really want to work with. Also who's worked with Wallows, but also just did Death Cab for Cuties record. I think John Congleton is a really cool producer. And so if he ever sees this, hit us up.
I'll see if I can slip it to him. What would you guys like to say then, Pete, to everyone who are fans and supporters of the Crystal Casino Band?
um, what I would always say is that the Crystal Casino Band loves you. That's our tagline. But also just things coming up, like please look out for more show dates. Hit us up if there's a city that we're not playing that you'd love to see us in. We'd love to make it work eventually. And then also we're gonna already literally within the next 2 weeks, we're hitting back the studio for more new music. So the grind never stops with us.